floor on behalf of my PR, who unfortunately had to leave us. He has requested the floor at the beginning of this meeting, but unfortunately he had another engagement that he had to run to, so I'll have to give these brief remarks on his behalf. First of all, I wanted to seize this opportunity to thank both Her Excellency Amina Mohammed and Dr. Agnes Kalibata for the extensive overview and for the great leadership leading us to the summit that's going to take place next week. We welcome the progress made so far. Truly encouraging numbers have been presented. Over 147 member states have led on dialogues, 918 independence dialogues, so many participants that have engaged in action tracks, and this is truly an enormous wealth of knowledge, of expertise, of resources, as Her Excellency Amina Mohammed has rightly described, that we hope will fuel the transformation of food systems moving forward. As per our region, which is the African region, Morocco and Liberia have worked hard to bring African proposals and priorities together into one continental dialogue. So not only we have engaged in our national respective dialogues, but also as part of a continental regional dialogue that took place in Agadir, Morocco on July 13th. And this dialogue was actually the opportunity for over 40 decision makers and ministers from Africa to come together and discuss with regional actors and institutions the future of food systems. And so, mindful of these challenges as well as the opportunities that agriculture in Africa presents, we were able to mobilize a meaningful African participation also in the pre-summit that took place in Rome. And here again, we would like to congratulate the Secretariat of the summit for the outstanding, and of course Italy for hosting this very successful events prior to the summit. We concur with other delegations today that have expressed that we are not we're not supporting the idea of a new structure to follow up, but rather should use existing mechanisms either in New York, in Rome, or in Nairobi. And most importantly, we should increase the ownership by countries following the direction and purpose of the summit. We have seen it very clearly. Countries have been their own leader in their national dialogues, etc. So why not even beyond the summit in putting in place actions and giving birth or giving life to the coalitions that have been announced. In a nutshell, I wanted to briefly present 5 particular action points that Africa have put emphasis on. First of all, the fact that the summit should play a role in supporting small and medium farm holders, because it's important to boost local production and help local livelihoods economically. The second aspect is water. We see that the nexus between climate change and agriculture is increasingly becoming very pertinent, and we believe that the summit should address the water issue more specifically and the climate change at large. The third point is to improve rural infrastructure and means of access to markets within, of course, regions such as the African region and to the rest of the world. Fourth point is supporting Africa's and indigenous food systems in general that can play a bigger role in absorbing young job seekers. And last but not least, the importance of the summit to be a booster of cooperation in research and in promoting new technologies. So to conclude, Morocco is confident that the milestones that we've gone through have been instrumental to mobilize as many stakeholders as possible. We welcome the Secretary General's statement of action that we see as an optimistic one, very encouraging vision, and the summit is not an end in itself, but an important milestone that we should help us all leverage the power of food systems in the decade to come. Thank you very much once again.
I thank the distinguished representative from Morocco. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Malaysia in Rome. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever our colleagues are. First and foremost, allow me, of course, to congratulate JSC Amina, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, of course, and the team, Martin, David Nabaru, for all the hard work for the past 18 months. It's been tremendous, and I'm happy to see we're finally coming to a conclusion at this upcoming summit. Malaysia recognizes the UNFF Secretariat's role and efforts in ensuring the success of the Food System Summit. We should keep the momentum going and avoid any energy dissipation through this process on which all member states have spent so much time. in the national dialogue process, action tracks, and the pre-summit in the course of the past 18 months. Towards this end, Malaysia would like to raise 4 points. The first, Malaysia recognizes that the UN Secretary General's Statement of Action is not a negotiated statement, and is a common denominator of all member states' position and preferences, and thus the statement should be balanced and practical to be implemented and turned into accelerated action after the summit. 2, we welcome the reiteration by DG Aminah that no new structures should be formed, and on that basis, all the engagements, discussions, deliberation, information gathering, stock taking that's been done in the action tracks national dialogue process and the UN FSS scientific group should not be duplicated in the coalitions. In fact, each coalition should be strengthened and amplified existing initiatives and efforts in order to be implemented at the country or regional level. Third, in regard to the modality of the summit, we must ensure that the modality will not affect the outcome of the summit and undermine the work being done by many actors. Member states, stakeholders within the UN FSS process, consultations and dialogues. Thus, it is important to have clarity, I repeat clarity, at the summit on how to follow up and the review should be done in the global context to ensure that the strategies and action plans that are designed to assist in the achievement of the 2030 agenda, and this of course includes follow-up at the RBS in Rome and in particular the CFS. And finally, Malaysia is aware that the coalition packages that will include a cover note, a list of coalitions with focal points, and the available background documents prepared by the Secretariat. However, these documents must be beneficial for member states to make well-informed decisions on whether to join, commit, or align with these coalitions, and how these coalitions will be able to help and assist member states in the national pathways for food systems and transformation. And finally, I again congratulate the team, and let's all pray and hope for a very good summit come 23rd September. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Over to you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Malaysia in Rome, and I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Switzerland. You have the floor.
Chère Madame la Présidente.
Distinguished Chair, thank you very much for giving us the floor, but could we speak after France, please? Thank you.
Madam, I'm sorry. Thank you for that. Please, I didn't catch the very end. Could you repeat that?
Oui, pardon.
Yes, thank you. We wondered if we could speak after France, if that's possible. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I just want to take a minute before I move to the next speaker and just remind everyone to mute their microphones if they're not speaking, but also if you could remember the pace of your speaking. I know I myself have to think about this, and for the interpretation staff, I appreciate that very much. I would like to now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Japan, and then we will move to the next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Let me thank Madam Deputy Secretary General for her informative briefing today. And I would also like to express my appreciation to the Special Envoy, Dr. Kalibata, and her team for guiding the preparation process all the way to the summit next week. We are particularly pleased to see the pre-summit in Rome was successfully concluded. From Japan, 2 ministerial level participated in person, the meeting, pre-summit meeting, in person and through a pre-recorded statement. The pre-summit clearly shows the global attention to the problems surrounding food systems, and we have to accelerate momentum towards the summit. In today's meeting, I have a couple of comments and few questions. First, with regards to the statement of action by Secretary General, we have already submitted our suggestions to the Secretariat. From our perspective, elements to be emphasized in the statement of actions are innovation, free, open, and fair trade, promoting evidence and science-based approach, and combating misinformation, balanced diet, the concept of one-size-fits-all solution as referred by Deputy Secretary General, and continuation of national dialogue. Japan hosts the Tokyo Nutrition for Growth Summit on the 7th and 8th of December this year, which will be an important occasion to implement the Food System Summit outcome. In this connection, we believe the Tokyo Nutrition for Growth Summit should be articulated in the statement of action. In this regard, my question is that when we will have the statement of action, and whether member states will have another opportunity to comment on that statement, draft statement of action. And the second question is that as the summit will take place next week, we would like to have the speaker list and the more concrete program of the summit as soon as possible for smooth preparation by member states. Finally, I would like to reiterate our full support and engagement to the Food System Summit, as well as its implementation phase going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Japan. I would like to now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Canada in Rome. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I came in a little bit late, but it's been fascinating, and most of my colleagues, as always, have raised the most important questions. But let me as well join in the chorus of thanking the Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, and her special envoy, Dr. Kalibata. Agnes, you've done an amazing job, you and your team. And I wouldn't say we're at the end of the road. We're at the beginning. I mean, I really firmly think that September 23rd is launching what you have started. But my kudos to the dialogue that you have generated. It truly has been bottom up. It has engaged a wide number of stakeholders, and that will make all the difference going forward. I know there's been some tension along that road between action and inclusiveness, and I want to thank you for the responsive way that you've managed this, because in the long run, it really is about keeping connected with our stakeholders and those that can really contribute to the SDGs and to, of course, the sustainability of food systems. And here I'm speaking particularly about Indigenous peoples and women and girls and youth. And I want to ask if you could, as others have asked, a little more information on how these stakeholders will have an opportunity in the program to be able to give voice to their visions and their hopes. I think this is very, very important in the long run, because these are the investments, I think, that will return the benefits that we are seeking to acquire. And in that, I know that there's probably at least 6 hours of government statements. Mine will be one. I really do hope that we'll have an opportunity to hear from people, those people that you have excited through this process, and again, youth and Indigenous and women and farmers particularly. I'm going to just repeat a lot that has already been said. An ambitious statement by the Secretary General. Obviously, we all have a stake in that, and if there's anything we can do to assist you to make sure that takes place, including obviously our input, we would very much be able to assist you in that regard. As I said, September 23rd is only the beginning, so we'd like to hear a little bit more about how we're going to be able to maintain these networks that you have created and energized, and most importantly, the implementation. Yes, obviously there's been a great number of ideas that have been generated, but the proof in the pudding will only be, of course, in the implementation. So I'll leave it at that, but again, my sincerest thanks to both of you and your team.
I thank the representative of Canada. I now want to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Brazil, who will be followed by France, Switzerland, and Chile. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Jared, thank you very much for the floor. Let me start by expressing our deep appreciation to DSG, Amina Mohammed, and to Special Envoy Agnes Kalibata, not only for the very rich briefing they have presented here today, but for the very consistent and tireless efforts they have put into ensuring that this Food Systems Summit process maintains itself on track. Let me say that Brazil has been fully engaged in the process from the outset. We participated in all 5 action tracks. We conducted our national dialogues with a view to conducting or concluding our national pathway to achieve the goals. We sponsored a dialogue or an event on trade and food systems at the WTO last July, and in this respect, let me say I take very good note of my colleague from Japan calling for free, open and fair trade in this sector. And we also had our Minister of Agriculture personally coming to the pre-summit meeting in Rome. Now, let me say that what we most appreciate at this stage is the manner by which the interests and concerns of member states have been increasingly considered within the process. This is something we had called for, and we have taken note that it has happened, and we are very appreciative of this. And in this respect, we also appreciate that the Secretary General's statement of action has also slowly migrated towards language that is in greater harmony with the commitments undertaken by member states. In this respect, I have to say I fully endorse the permanent representative of Argentina with the idea that the statement of actions should abide by language and definitions that have been agreed to by member states. And this is not a minor point. This is not how can I say it? This is not trying to be difficult, but it's a manner to ensure that we will be all pulling in the same direction under common definitions that we all understand, so that we do not work at cross purposes to each other. On the issue of follow-up, which has been addressed, Brazil's point of view is that the summit is, in essence, and at its core, it is a mechanism for implementation of the 2030 agenda. Now, we do respect and understand that the Rome-based agencies do have a complementary role in this process, but the respect for the multifaceted dimension of food systems within the 2030 agenda would recommend, in our view, that the HLPF play a central role with contributions coming from all sides of the UN system. Furthermore, and I take note of the statement made by Germany, specific with respect to the need for a greater alignment with the wake-up call. I think the last report from the IPCC delivered to us. But I really do have hope that for the vast majority of people around the world, the highest priority for food systems is delivering adequate nutrition. So we really have to look at balance in addressing the many different aspects of food systems in our global economy, global social network, and not skew it towards one issue alone. And finally, on this aspect, it is worth noting that food systems have a relatively smaller impact on climate than other areas such as power, transportation, and industry. So, let's take account of the bigger picture of this. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Brazil. Colleagues, I just want to make another operational note. I know some of the connections have not been as solid as everyone would have liked. I just encourage the remaining speakers, if you can speak directly and as closely to the microphone as possible, that will help our interpretation, as well as it could be impacted or suspended if the sound is not good enough. With that, I would like to give the floor now to the distinguished representative of France. You have the floor.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I would, first of all, replacing the ambassador today. He had another commitment, and I will make some remarks. Thank you to Her Excellency, the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, and the Special Envoy Dr. Kalibata for organizing this summit and the preparation. And I would like to make a couple points. So first of all, as it has been said previously by many of the delegations, we are concerned, if not surprised, by the general lack of clarity and transparency from the Secretariat regarding the summit, and both in terms of substance on the coalitions and the follow-up, and also on the practical modalities. And this does not help us securing a high-level participation of our authorities to the summit. I would like to recall that France is actively supporting the launch of the coalitions dedicated respectively to school meals and agroecology, which is very important, and also it has a strong, we have seen a strong mobilization from the group of friends of agroecology, which is chaired by Senegal. In addition to that, we're glad that several member states have joined the coalition for school meals, and that has been initiated by the WFP. And we also thank Finland for the active involvement in making this coalition happen. We would be very much appreciative if the member states and the Commission joined the coalition on agroecology. So we are calling on everyone to join this coalition. Also, we have already received the support of countries at this stage from several regions, and also different international organizations, NGOs, and farmers' organizations. We would also be interested to know which coalitions other member states plan to join, and at which level of participation. On the regarding One Health, as the ambassador of Germany in Rome has been highlighting this regarding the health and tripartite arrangements, we would like to see the inclusion of UNEP. And finally, the last words on the follow-up. We would like, we are in favor of maintaining, we're not in favor of maintaining the current governance, and we are in favor of the CFS and its HLP, the group of experts, to have a key role in the future follow-up mechanism. And we would like to have the CFS more inclusive and appropriate. And we think this is the most appropriate platform to bring to the table all the relevant stakeholders. We are not in favor of creating new structures, as it has been mentioned before, and we do not want to duplicate the existing organizations, which would be also more costly. So we consider the CFS to be the most relevant forum to discuss on a regular basis the progress that has been made, and we would also, in the follow-up process, have multilateral bodies involved, and of course, depending with respect to their mandates. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily.
I thank the distinguished representative of France. I would now like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Switzerland.
Chair, Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chair, thank you for giving me the floor. Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Secretary General of the Summit, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Switzerland welcomes the opportunity of discussing with you, Madam Deputy Secretary General, to ensure that our food systems are transformed to achieve the 2030 Agenda goals. Transforming systems requires breaking up silos and working together, young people and less young people, with an innovative mindset. And it is precisely for that reason that Switzerland supports systemic initiatives such as the Agroecology Coalition. We are of the opinion that this People's Summit would benefit from an approach that brought in the right to food, as underscored by the Special Rapporteur on the right to food. The summit should be accompanied by a follow-up process that brings together existing mechanisms with a focus on national plans for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
I thank the representative of Switzerland, and I now give the floor to the representative of Chile in Rome.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, moderator. We would like to thank the Special Envoy and the Deputy Secretary General for their presentations. We agree with the comments made by Brazil and Argentina, in particular in view of the fact that even though this is not a negotiated declaration, the statement uses agreed language among states. This includes the science behind our statement. Along with 15 other countries, all major food producers have made contributions to our international discussion on the food systems. We've paid attention to the comments by other member states. We see that there's a proposal for a follow-up mechanism based in Rome. We believe that the process should be pursued in New York and aligned with the SDGs. This would be more appropriate for having a comprehensive approach to the system and better representation of the various actors. We do not need a new structure with a new chain of command. This could be part of the work already done by member states on Agenda 2030. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Chile. I now would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Netherlands. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greetings from Rome. Thank you for this opportunity, the information, and of course the commitment of Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohamed, Special Envoy Agnes Kalibata, and the many, many others within and outside the UN system that drive this process. As you said, Madam Deputy Secretary General, this summit has long been in the making, but also long due. And having a broader perspective on the many linkages between and within the food system, between the food system and other sectors, factors and themes, and of course within the UN system, is absolutely necessary. None of the SDGs can be addressed in isolation. And this broader perspective should be part of the follow-up. Any supporting structure should be equipped to specifically do that. We do appreciate your remarks about the institutional aspects of the follow-up. Real-life action should not be smothered in bureau politics, procedures, structures, etc. But we do see the added value of your involvement, the higher political profile, and the call from UN headquarters to specialized agencies to work together for this common goal. Whether we call this a supporting facility, a figurehead, or a cockpit, that's not of the highest relevance. That we need a team, including all the relevant UN agencies, and with enough weight behind it to carry this agenda, that is very clear to us. Secondly, the follow-up should indeed support the national pathways. The register, the compendium, these are the passive and perhaps patient elements. We also need a mechanism that actively tracks and monitors progress, that creates the peer pressure to deliver. Thirdly, I would like to stress the importance of the role of science and knowledge to support policy decisions and improve the governance of the food system as a whole. This science-policy interface will increase the chances of decisions that are future-proof and less vulnerable to short-termism and more immune to lobbies that try to protect the status quo. Once again, thank you for all the hard work put into this, and we look forward to make this summit and the follow-up a success. Know that the Netherlands stands ready to support you in this.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Netherlands in Rome, and I now would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mauritania in Rome as well. You have the floor.
She's on mute.
Yes, that's what I was just thinking. Madam, I'm so sorry, but you are on mute. We are not able to hear you.
Oui, maintenant, c'est bon?
Can you hear me now?
Oui, merci bien.
Thank you very much. I was saying that I extend my greetings to Her Excellency Ms. Amina Mohammed and to the Special Envoy Ms. Kalibata, who I would like to congratulate and wish them success for the preparatory process of this summit. We have every confidence in the future, and we are sure that even today the organisers, Italy, would like to thank them for the preparatory summit. This summit comes precisely at the right time because it is in a very unique context, a context marked by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has had a big impact on economies in Africa, as it has done in every country, and affected all of humanity, indeed. So, we know that this is going to be a decisive turning point and a decisive moment in the history of transforming food and agriculture systems. My country, Mauritania, in this context will host a summit on the Great Green Wall. The Great Green Wall brings together the countries of the Sahel and the sub-region, and it's something that we attach a great deal of importance to when it comes to resilience against desertification and combating hunger in Africa. Unfortunately, this project is delayed due to a lack of financing. So, we must all be aware of that problem. Coalitions have emerged, and there is one coalition in particular that we hold close to our heart in Africa, which is the Agroecology Coalition, because we know that transforming food and agricultural systems faces many challenges. This transformation of food systems through agroecology could represent a powerful lever and a crucial tool for to allow us to overcome the challenges facing food systems and agriculture in Africa. So this is very important to us, and we would like it to be taken into consideration because it's very important for us. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Mauritania. I now would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Благодарю вас.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would also like to thank the DSG, Amina Mohammed, and the Special Envoy, Ms. Agnes Kalibata, and her team for all of their efforts to prepare for this important event. Russia attaches a great deal of importance to the Food Systems Summit. The Russian government participates in the advisory committee. The Russian representative participates in the advisory committee. The interpreter points out that the sound quality is very poor. We have also begun. We very early on began working on our national dialogue. And in that connection, I would like to support the representatives of Brazil, Malaysia, and Argentina in their remarks concerning the statement of action of the Secretary General. We agree that it needs to be balanced, and it needs to work to bring together the efforts of member countries and other partners. As has already been said, as it's the common denominator for the position of member countries. We also agree that it needs to use agreed wordings and concepts at the intergovernmental level. That is what will bring together the efforts of member countries. And that will also condition the success of subsequent activities. We would also like to ask the organisers to ensure that all interested member states have the opportunity to speak at the summit. The official invitation was sent out not so long ago. That was also touched upon by the colleague from France. Nevertheless, the member states have a great deal of interest in this event. And it would be important to hear contributions from all interested states. And in conclusion, if possible, we would also like to get some more information about the People's Plenary segment that Ms. Kalibata referred to. My thanks once again to all of the organisers for their efforts. We very much look forward to this important international event. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation. And we have one more speaker before we will turn it back to the Deputy Secretary General. And with that, I'd like to give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Senegal.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. On behalf of my country, first of all, I would like to thank and congratulate the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and the Special Envoy, our sister Agnes Kalibata, for all of the efforts that they have made to ensure that we can conduct this shared reflection on how to achieve concrete and relevant results to move forward. Madam Moderator, as the chair of the group of Friends of Agroecology, I would also like to welcome the mention made of that major approach which should help contribute to the transformation of our agro-food systems. That is why Senegal very much advocates for this approach, agroecology, to find pride of place in the agenda and the outcomes of this summit, and that the statement of the Secretary General will also make a strong reference to it. Senegal also hopes that in the Secretary General's statement there will be an emphasis on the urgent need to address socioeconomic stakes, environmental stakes, and public health stakes in a holistic fashion in the context of the structural transformation of our food systems, so as to make them more effective, more efficient, more sustainable, and more resilient. Senegal would also like to say that we must begin to think about two questions that are essential as far as we see it. The first is how, in a systematic fashion, we can bring together the different coalitions so that they can produce end products, outcomes that are useful and usable. From our point of view, we shouldn't just have these coalitions existing in silos without them interfacing and interacting in a consequential way to produce things within these coalitions that can then become end products which allow us to make substantial progress towards transformation. The second concern that we have is that we must accept that there are problems that are cross-cutting in nature. And we need to look at what connections we can draw between these different coalitions to ensure that those issues are effectively addressed. And here I have in mind everything to do with technological innovation, for example, and how that can be incorporated, and how food systems can take ownership of those technological innovations. I also have in mind land management and everything that has to do with building the operational capacities of family farms, as well as promoting a strong agricultural sector, particularly in Africa, that works well with small holdings and farms, and so on and so forth. So it's good to have these coalitions, but we need to find ways for them to interact and interface with one another, and we also need to do everything we can to ensure that our shared concerns are taken into account and addressed, to ensure that we are moving towards structural transformation that's going to move quickly, effectively, and efficiently. Lastly, and this is the last thing Senegal would like to say, we believe that the proliferation of and the creation of new structures does not necessarily allow us to transform food systems. Our firm conviction is rather we need to think about what we can do to produce the yield of what exists already, instead of having to reinvent the wheel and find ourselves back at the starting point. That was the statement of Senegal, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Senegal. I do have a couple of requests. I now would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ethiopia, and then if there are no more speakers, I see some have taken down their hands. I see the representative of Mali and Germany. And then we will turn the floor back to the Deputy Secretary General to respond to the comments made and the questions. But now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ethiopia.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. As thou said, I would like to thank Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed and especially Envoy Mrs. Kalibata for the updates and the information. It is very important food and the agricultural system. As of Ethiopia, we are strongly working to improve the food system, especially by controlling the climate change, the land management system, and afforestation by planting trees. All these are contribute for this food system. For this implementation and the follow-up, we agreed to use the existing structure rather than forming other structure. So, as member state already mentioned, I don't want to repeat because of time, we agreed with them. We are already started because it is part of Agenda 2030. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ethiopia. I now would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mali.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I also would like to thank UN Deputy Secretary General Ms. Amina Mohammed and the Special Envoy for the Secretary General and the entire Food System Summit team for the enormous work they have done. Mali welcomes the fact that our concerns were taken on board by the predecessors, and I also welcome the fact that there's been a general, absolute determination of all participants to have a consensus and to recognize everyone's concerns when it comes to food systems. I don't need to remind people here that the current food systems have shown that they are limited, and we need a sustained effort by everyone if we want to be able to meet the 2030 commitments, SDGs 1, 2, and 3. We firmly support the statement made by France and Senegal when it comes to the coalition. We believe that the coalitions are extremely important in the Sahel and in my country in particular. We just have two small comments to make. Firstly, we need to make certain that this summit is a summit of the people and for the people, and any decision taken in the statement of action should involve our people so that we can continue to internalize the actions of the summit. And so I would like to know what actions have been taken to allow for ownership by the people after the summit. If we look at all of the actions that have been taken by the UN organization in preparing for this summit, we have seen that when we want to do something, we can do it, and we can achieve considerable action. So I want to make sure that all of these actions that we have taken together will actually move forward. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of of Mali. And I now would like to give the floor to the representative of Germany again. I just want to let colleagues know that the Deputy Secretary General does have another engagement, and so we'll have to leave right on time. And so I encourage you to be brief. Thank you so much. Representative, over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for taking the floor once again. I had focused my intervention exclusively on substance issues, and I completely forgot to realize that this is in fact the last exchange with the DSG, the Special Envoy and her team, and David Nabarro and his team prior to the summit. And of course, this is inexcusable, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to thank all of them, the DSG, Agnes and her team, Martin and Adam, Ophelia, David Nabarro and his team, for their huge commitment and tireless efforts to make this summit a success. And it is really much appreciated. We in Rome here with a group of friends were glad to contribute a little bit to this process. And thanks to Agnes for her kind words of appreciation. I haven't had the chance to talk to my co-conveners, but I'm sure they agree with me when I say we stand ready to accompany the process even after the 23rd of September. Thank you again, and apologies for taking the floor again.
Ambassador, thank you so much for that. And that it does conclude our list of speakers, and so I would like to now invite the Deputy Secretary General to respond to the comments and questions made. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Sheriff and Excellencies. This has been great feedback, as it always is, and so let me also thank you, because you've held fire to our feet since the first day, and it's been tough, and sometimes I was wondering if we were going to get to anywhere near the pre-summit, talk less the summit. But this has been really good, very positive tensions that I think have brought about keeping the ambition of the 2030 agenda. We've not kept the timeline, and we've been knocked off track, not just by COVID, even before then. And I do believe that this process and the Food Systems Summit is going to help to put us back on track. So thank you for keeping fire under our feet, and in particular at the pre-summit. The pre-summit, you really did engage bilaterally within the regional groups, and certainly the stakeholders accommodating that this is a people solution summit. And for that to happen, it did need our member states to accompany us on this, and to continue to shape it all the way to the end. So we're not done yet, almost there. And I think, as Canada had said, perhaps it'll be after the summit will be the first day of the rest of our lives on the food transformation. If you would not mind, I would like to ask Agnes perhaps to answer some of the technical questions around the program. I was very concerned and anxious with France's comment that this was not transparent and lacked clarity. France are a member of the advisory group, and so I will, make sure I reach out to you to see what it is that you have not had clarity or transparency over. It's the only member of the advisory group that I've heard this from, so I'll reach out to you. In the meantime, Agnes, could you fill some of the gaps that our excellencies and member states have asked to be filled?
Thank you, DSG, and thank you, Your Excellencies, for all the comments and feedback and really vote of confidence and appreciation that we've had in this whole process. But really, the appreciation is noted and well taken, and really makes all the effort worthwhile that we put in worthwhile. In terms of the program, I just want to say that I gave the big line items of the program. We will break it down and make sure that by Friday you do have a sense of who is coming, who's speaking when, where possible. But it also depends on a number of things. Who is available to talk at what time, what statements we have, what we don't have. All those things are going to be put into consideration, but also and then of course the constituencies that we are talking about, will make sure that they are also placed in ways that enriches the conversation that we are having, so that it's not just member states or constituencies on their own. So we'll make sure that you have the program to the extent possible, where we have true understanding of who's speaking where. I think really that's it. And from my perspective, what we showed you is really a reflection of what the program is going to be like. And maybe the last point I would like to make with DSG is the fact that this summit would not have been possible if some of the member states hadn't stepped out of their comfort zone and accepted to fund this summit. And we appreciate the fact that some of you took that responsibility to really put this on a global stage, have the conversation going on, have everybody engaged. That's how we managed to make it bottom up. It needed a lot of effort, and we just were able to do it because you were there to support us and stood behind us, and we appreciate. I just wanted to make sure that that is not lost to all of us. So thank you again, and we'll make sure that we give you whatever information we can give you as we move into the summit, and we look forward to your support as we go into the summit to ensure that heads of state have clarity of their national pathways and have clarity of their commitments, because that's what the SG expects from them. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Agnes. And Excellencies, just to say that the statement of the SG would go out today to our advisory committee so that you have it, and therefore your representatives on the advisory committee, please reach out to them. At the moment, we have come, I think, to some consensus agreement that these coalitions that are forming really are about the country level. So if the country level demands a coalition, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's really about what they take up, and what we commit to doing as the UN system is to supporting that. I think, the really great work that David has led on these national dialogues has really brought in governments to lead on what their priorities are. And I think, as it was said to me often by many of you, governments are doing things that they've been doing for a while. And what we're doing here is learning from those that are way ahead, and also trying to bring everybody else along so that we aren't leaving anyone behind in this. And I think it has been really fantastic to see the dialogues and the pathways which will be inputting into these coalitions. There was a question about how the people stay engaged after the summit. Certainly everything that they have said we have heard, and I believe they will see it in the SG statement. But part of the follow-up is to ensure that the platforms at the country level are bringing in the stakeholders, and that at the global level, informing the unit under the guidance of the RBAs is informed by these different representations from indigenous groups, from youth, from women, from the business community, and the producers. So just to say that the coalitions are not what are being designed up here, they are coming out of member states coming together with stakeholders to do so. The draft compendium, my apologies if that has really not contained the efforts and what has been shared, particularly by the CFS. I think it's really important that tools that are out there are not replicated, and that there should be a place where we see this. So everything that is being harvested from this process needs to be there. Let's ensure that the compendium itself remains open so that we can put more on there as we pick up your observations of what's not there. I think Agnes already spoke to the list of speakers and, of course, the moderated discussions. It still is a work in progress. You'll know how difficult this is for us to try to do virtually, and many member states have still not yet confirmed. So if we put out a program now, it will be on the understanding that it has not been finalized, because there are a number of still TBCs. But we can do that so you see the format and the way in which it's going to go through. I think, Agnes, we can do that tomorrow as we move towards Friday to try to put it out more finally. Thank you to our colleagues again from Germany. There's a lot of very specific issues that you want to understand better. We will try to clarify those in the meeting tomorrow with our advisory committee. It's the last time we have an opportunity to take on board their own concerns and how they can improve our input. I would say that the follow-up mechanism itself, as I said, there is a transition precisely for us not to cast in stone any of it until we are comfortable at what we are actually transitioning to countries and to Rome to carry on with this work. And so therefore, things like the CFS role, tomorrow we will give you a draft organogram that has been consulted with our RBA principles of the overall structure. Details of that, then I think we should wait till after the summit and we can go through the coming weeks and months and hopefully finish this transition well before the end of the year. It is also aligning. I think we probably should have a narrative now that you've said it. It does draw parallels with the number of the COPs that are happening and the other high-level meetings in the GA through to the end of the year with the Food Systems Summit, so we can see the integral nature of the response and the necessity to really look at the Sustainable Development Agenda, which is about those three strands of DNA coming together on the social, economic, and environmental front. So we will do that. As yet no new structures is absolutely it. The One Health and the climate, that will also be supported in the follow-up mechanism. We hope the WHO and UNEP in its own right, but also as chair of the UN system response is involved in the follow-up mechanism. I do appreciate that, in many cases, there are some concerns about, and I heard this from the EU, of the capacities of some of our institution platforms, agencies, funds and programs. But it's our job to strengthen them. We are not creating new institutions, and so therefore we really do have to point these things out. I do think the Food Systems Summit has opened up a number of these areas that we need to strengthen, and from the responses of the principles of the RBAs and of the UN system, I think there's a willingness, and we will be meeting on this in the UN SDG under my chair to make sure that the signals of working better together and getting this done as one response travel to the country level where the country team is, and not to forget also the regional directors who will be giving instructions to doing this better. So understood, we'll take it on. The food beyond, I guess, the RBAs, that's what the Sustainable Development Agenda does, right? There's no one goal that hangs by itself. The whole Zero Hunger goal has so many interactions with all the other SDGs, and that's why this is an integrated agenda. And this is a long time sustainable development has been, birthed and spoken about for many, many years. From Latin America, Rio was the first place we really had these discussions, and it has continued until we did get the framing of it in 2015. And I hope that we can consolidate on this and really root the principles around sustainable development in the 2030 agenda. I've taken on the other comments of the things that you'd like to see, very country-specific and region-specific. I do think that we are, as always, breaking the silos. SG statement, I hear you on the agreed language, and we will do our very best to get that right, constantly engaging with you. Thank you to the Netherlands as well. I think it's been very helpful. More recently, you have helped us in how we strengthen the way that we communicate and engage and interact within member states, but also to our stakeholders on the outside, with the support to our to the Secretariat here in New York. I do the tracks and how we monitor this. The progress towards it are being proposed with an annual report that feeds into the high-level political forum. But I also think that that's what we also want to take into the SDG moment, and in, of course, the 2-year stock taking, and that I hope will give us a good follow-up and monitoring and evaluation of the progress that's been made towards the SDGs. It may be useful to think about how we can support through the major stakeholder groups or other civil society groups, civil society within the CFS, some shadow reporting that they may also do with a sense of independence, and we might learn from that. It's always difficult to bring everyone together all the time, but maybe there is some, shadow reporting that could be done there where they follow the work that they should be an integral part of in this next stage. And I see lots of comments around the different issues. Agroecology has come up a number of times, and I believe there are like the school feeding coalitions that are being put together for it. Yeah, I think that is what we have. That's just about all I've got here. So look forward very much to tomorrow's advisory committee meeting and to getting closer to the summit. And I think, as our distinguished representative from Canada said, we're not done yet, even after the summit. But I do, plead and urge all of you to extend the excitement and the confidence that we have in our leadership around the world to make this summit really meaningful and to send out this, message of hope to what is a world that is struggling and still grappling with COVID. I was in Kenya and Tanzania and Somalia over the weekend. People are really suffering. They're suffering the socioeconomic impacts. They're suffering the climate change. They're suffering the conflicts. And they're also suffering from not the best of a response from the global community on vaccines, on the 100 billion for climate and COP. So we need to give them a sense of hope. And I really believe that the heads of state and government can use this opportunity of the Food Systems Summit to do so. So once again, thank you all very much. And to our teams, those that I can see on screen.